here, and you guys do such great work, and that's the one thing as communities all over the country. As I've had the honor to go to Rotary clubs, everybody does good work, and you guys are organized to the point where everybody works together, and so. Which is like a team, which is like we try to do in football, because the most important thing is execution, and you guys do a great job of execution. Of course, these are interesting times for everybody. Our team, they go in different phases, and so basically we take everybody's temperature, and they come in with masks, and then we've got 5 or 6 groups so that everybody's all spread out, and then we are able to lift and run and do walkthroughs and some film, at varied times. And so I think we're getting good work done. The hard thing is that for everybody is we haven't really gotten that taste of football. We haven't gotten that spring football where, we're out there letting it rip and where us as coaches can be directly involved. And the most important thing, of course, is you get acquainted with your team and get to know everybody and get excited about, what makes a team. I mean, everybody wants, touchdowns and all that, but what makes it most compelling is what you're doing for the guy next to you. And as you get to know him, and there's so many personalities, so many interests, so many backgrounds, so many hobbies, so many, everybody knows something that you don't know, and you have the opportunity to learn that from all those people. But on behalf of me and my staff, we're truly honored to be in the great state of Mississippi and have the opportunity to coach the fine athletes that this state and this region has to offer. We're all hopeful that we'll have football this year, and I believe we will. Of course, we've got to follow the experts on this, and the experts vary a little because they'll change their mind here and there, but nevertheless, they're the experts. And so anyway, we have a lot of enthusiasm here. I mean, I think our players, with proper concern and caution are excited to be around each other. They're excited to work, no question about that. But in particular, they're really excited to be around one another. And I think that's what everybody misses the most, especially in a team setting, is the opportunity to share, with all the coaches, players, and people in the group. And, after a while, even folks that get on your nerves, you start to miss them after a while. And just that opportunity to work together. I mean, that's what keeps us all going, and that's why football is consuming. That's why playing football is consuming. And then, and I also think that on the outside, people feel that and kind of sharing that camaraderie, that they see out of teams. And I realize that we're not curing cancer, but what's great about sports is it brings people from all backgrounds together, and it gives you something to celebrate when times are good, and it gives you something to pick you up when times are tough. And so I do think it's a very important element of our American culture, and we can't wait till that day comes that we have the chance to fully engage. And with that said, I'd like to open it up to questions and answer any questions anybody may have.
Hey, Coach, this is David. I'll ask the first question. Being a National Coach of the Year and having invented the air raid offense, how do you think that's going to transfer into Mississippi State and the Southeastern Conference? I think the excitement level is tremendous, and I can't wait to see you guys on the field. But how do you think your offense is going to play this year?
Well, I think a lot of things. I think as far as the Coach of the Year part, there's a lot of moving parts. I mean, I had great players and I had great coaches that all worked together. And then, all awards are team awards. And I do think our team deserved that award because, there were a lot of people pulling the same direction, in particular, everything from players, trainers, even our fans, things like that. the air raid, and I had a lot of help with the air raid too. I mean, it's been a combination of copying, packaging, inventing some things, and then selecting plays that blend well together. The consideration being devising ways to get it in everybody's hands and attack the whole field. And, because I think that's what a good offense is where you have all your weapons involved and where you can attack all the space. And we've borrowed from, I think, some of the greatest minds in football, but also, I do have to say we did with our coaches and everybody a pretty good job of packaging it together to the point you're seeing it all over the NFL now. The last several Super Bowls, had air raid concepts in them. And then, my first exposure to the SEC was I was offensive coordinator at the University of Kentucky, and had the opportunity to throw it around in the SEC, and it was an exciting time. And it was a time where, there were quarterbacks everywhere. Danny Warfel was down there at Florida. Peyton Manning was at Tennessee. Quincy Carter was at Georgia. Freddie Kitchens, who's a coach, was at Alabama. And of course, we had Tim Couch at Kentucky. And there were more balls flying in the air, I'd say, overall in the SEC at that point in time, maybe than there is now. But, it was, I thought it was great. I thought that, the biggest thing with an offense is I think you want to have a good offense. Like I say, attacks all the space and distributes the ball. And, but in this conference, it's a great place to do it because, you do have, great athletes on both sides of the ball, and you have great defensive players in this conference, no question, but you have great offensive players too. And so I think that mitigates a little bit. And then football is always a game of execution. The most important thing is how you execute, and everybody, somebody does this, somebody does that, somebody does the other thing. But, and I think a lot of times on the outside, there's a temptation to think that football's kind of a episode of Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner, where whoever buys enough products from Acme and sets up the right trap and all that, you get a surprise and pounce on somebody. And not to take any of the fun out of it. And I think in real life, it adds fun to it because it's everybody working together. But the most important thing about football is execution. It's what everybody does together and getting on the same page and synchronizing it. And as you have success doing that, I think it really ignites your team and everybody around it. And then, the hardest temptation for a coach, there's all these plays out there, and for a player too. I mean, there's all these great players. You see somebody run this play and, somebody's devising this, or you draw something up on the board, and it's always tempting, to do too much. But you don't want to, you have to always remember that it's a game of execution, and what you can execute is what counts. And so it's tough. I mean, would I like to run a wishbone play? I'd love to run a wishbone play. But, the wishbone's an offense. It's not, it's not just a play. And then, and so you got to figure out where you're going to invest your time. And you need plays where, whoever's the dumbest guy at the point of attack can do it full speed. And so, that's the key there. So that everybody knows their job, has their plan pre-snap, and can do it automatically.
Coach, this is Randy McCoy. I want to go to the other side of the football on the defensive side. It just appears to me that over the years, teams tended to throw it around a little bit because when you practice ones against ones, it's going to be throwing the ball. How do you make sure that the defensive side of the ball is nasty enough or strong enough or stout enough to play hard-nosed against the run and shut it down?
Well, the biggest starting point is get a great D line, and that's one thing that excites me here at Mississippi. And then if you don't, if you have a smaller, lighter group, well, then you got a line move and blitz and stunt, I think that, typically you're against scout teams. You go head to head during spring. During scout team, you have to duplicate what you're going to face on Saturday. And so usually it's against a scout team. To give our defense a boost, though, we will scout up plays off of the cards that they think they're going to see with good on good to help give better speed, better power. One thing I'm really excited about our defense here, we've got, well, let me see what I would refer to it as. Zach Arnett is, I would say, a grandchild of the Joe Lee Dunn tree. So you have Joe Lee Dunn, who was outstanding, and we played against him when he was at Kentucky, and and he had guys, person after person coming at all different angles and shuffling the deck and just trying to pound you to a pulp, which he was really good at. And then of course that went to Rocky Long. And when I was in the Big 12 at Texas Tech, we would play New Mexico all the time. And the toughest defense I went against was Rocky Long's. And, and maybe they didn't have the best players, but schematically and what they had to offer, I thought was incredibly challenging. We actually played against Zach. Zach was a linebacker on some of those defenses. And then, of course, he came up under Rocky and then, coached it and called it some and, right in the middle of it there with Rocky Long. And so I am kind of excited about bringing that style of defense back to the SEC. And I know firsthand on the receiving end some of the success that it has,
Coach, can you talk about the maybe playing only conference games and what you hear the other coaches in this conference think about it?
Well, we would all like to play a full schedule. I think I can speak for everybody on that. We would all like to play a full schedule. They meet about it, they're meeting about it probably as we speak, trying to sort it out. I try to take comfort in the fact that we're 2 months away and hope that, we get this thing on the upswing and get to play all of our non-conference games as well. I think it would be a shame if we didn't get to play at least 10 games, but, with that, you got to defer to the welfare and, the care of the players and what's best for the fans and everybody involved, which, and I've got plenty to do with my job and so I'll let those other fellows do theirs, but, I hope that we can play non-conference games. I hope that it can be, as close to normal as possible. I hate words like new normal. New normal? What the hell's new normal? I mean, old normal went pretty good. And so I think the sooner we can get back to old normal, within, the precautions that need to be taken, I think the better off we are.
District Governor Carmen O'Degoose has her hand raised for a question.
Hey, Coach, thanks for being here this morning. I'm in Drew, Mississippi. You mentioned one of the Manning boys earlier, and we all know Archie was born and raised and played football in Drew. But my question is about recruiting, because this is something that's kind of happening to some degree in my household right now with a younger son, maybe more wooing than recruiting because there's nothing illegal going on. Currently, he plays for the local public school team, but he's being recruited by a school that can only play eight-man ball due to the size of the team. What is your experience, if any, with recruiting or sending scouts to watch an 8-man football team?
Yeah, it's it's a little mixed. I mean, I think the hardest thing is identifying players on an 8-man team, just because there's a little less exposure. There have been some great 8-man players, emerge and do some great things. And I think that the thing that's most difficult is evaluating, because it's a little bit different game, and then it's not it doesn't get the publicity, and everybody acts like coaches and all these big schools are foolproof. No, there's definitely an importance to the more familiar you are, the more you see, the more it's reinforced, the better the chances of somebody getting recruited. And I mean, and that's just a reality. I get a kick out of it. The NFL, they would never screw up. I mean, they evaluate these guys all the time. Well, I look at the quarterbacks. As they draft quarterbacks, they screw that up all the time, and that's the most evaluated position on earth. And so I think that you want to get as much exposure as you can. I think you want to figure out the recruiting coach in that area. You want to get alert them, and hopefully it's on the server on Huddle, the games, constantly alert and keep in touch and make sure that they're watching it. And then as there's camps, and that's been one negative thing this year, we haven't been able to have camps. Just try to get them in front of as many people as possible. And then, early in a career, like say a sophomore year or something like that, if it's not unfolding like you hope, and everybody's hopes are sometimes higher than reality, but that doesn't mean just because it didn't go well the sophomore year, it won't go well the senior year, because that's where people find sleepers. The sleepers are the guys that didn't get on the radar freshman, sophomore, and even junior year, and then all of a sudden hit a growth spurt, or the light goes on, and have a big time senior year, and then because we are in a constant state of evaluating players and trying to balance things. And then the other thing, if it comes down to it, don't be afraid to walk on. I've had a number of walk-ons. I've had a couple become All-Americans, which, I'm certainly not promising that. I've had more that it didn't work out and it wasn't their deal, and they went on to get their degree. But, the college experience and being with a team is something that I think is really special. And people, when they're my age, they talk about it all the time, to the point where it drives everybody crazy. And so, the biggest thing is keep rolling. Just keep rolling. Just keep pushing. Like a guy that I coached that's somewhat famous, Wes Welker, of course, played for me at Tech, and they went to a number of Pro Bowls and Super Bowls and the rest. But he was almost a walk-on. We had just gotten to Texas Tech, and had we not just gotten there and a new staff, he probably would have been a walk-on. But since we had a short period of time, we hadn't given away all of our scholarships, and had a few left after signing day. And then we end up giving one to Wes, thinking he's going to be a good team guy, and after 2 years, maybe help out on special teams. He started every game he ever played, so you never know how it's going to unfold. And then he used to say one thing that I still remember. I made a sign out of it one time. It says, he says, all I do each morning is worry about what I can control, and that is me believing in myself. And, there's no guarantees, but the one thing that is most likely is if you work and are positive and as focused as you can possibly be, you'll achieve your highest potential, and that'll put you in the best position.
Great. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Coach, how does recruiting at Mississippi differ from recruiting at Texas Tech and in Washington?
Less long plane rides. Well, like Texas Tech to a lesser degree. Texas Tech guys flying to Houston and Dallas all the time. And you got to understand, Texas is a big state. So, sometimes folks say, well, Houston's in Texas, Lubbock's in Texas, so they're right next to each other. No, they're 9.5, 10 hours away. So, at Washington State, we had to draw players. There weren't enough in the state of Washington, so we had to draw players from California. So I was on a plane to Los Angeles all the time. One thing here at Mississippi State, and this would be fun to do at home, and I can tell you it's definitely fun to do because I've done it probably 12 times. I suggest to use a compass or something because I use my finger and that's not really exact. But if you look at a 4.5-hour radius of Starkville, Mississippi, it is crazy how many athletes and how many great high school programs are in there. So you think about what I love about Starkville is how centrally located it is. And we get an awful lot of players from Mississippi, which has great football. And I used to look up per capita in the NFL, where are the most players from? And the guys that end up on top the most are Mississippi, Louisiana, and South Carolina. And then and obviously numerically more from California, Texas, and Florida, but this is per capita. Well, so if you consider from Starkville, and this would be, relatively easy driving if you're recruiting. And then when it comes to the head coach visits, then we can puddle jump around with a plane to hit them fast so that we can cover as much ground as possible. But within a 4-hour radius, you have the entire state of Mississippi. You have most of Tennessee, and then you have a portion of Arkansas. You have all of Louisiana. You have a little of East Texas. And then I figure, why not? Let's go ahead and fudge it and go to Houston. And then you have the entire state of Alabama. You have half the state of Georgia. You have the Florida Panhandle. And then and then you have Atlanta. So, I mean, so there's, and the other thing that's good about that, not just from a coach's standpoint, is traveling and getting there when it comes to camps, unofficial visits, and a player to have an opportunity to come see your facility, your practices, and what you're doing. They're within driving distance too. And then the other thing appealing from the recruiting standpoint is, if you're a kid, as he goes to play his college career, how much can his family and former fans, some of them he doesn't even know from his hometown and that region there, share in it? Well, I mean, within 4.5 hours, a whole lot of people can generate a lot of enthusiasm to see the next chapter.
Coach, I got a question. You've coached in a lot of places, including Europe and Washington and Texas and all over. Is there anything that's kind of surprised you about Mississippi coming here that maybe you didn't know before you got here, or any pros and cons or anything you might want to talk through? Just kind of tell us about what you've thought of Mississippi so far.
Well, I love Mississippi. It reminds me a lot of Valdosta, Georgia, where I coached. There's not as many bugs in Starkville as there were in Valdosta. We were right next to the Okefenokee Swamp. Football is very important. High school football is very important, and that's where it starts. The food's outstanding. You're within striking distance of the ocean. The people are good, hardworking, honest people that are passionate about what the young people in the state do. So I think, every place that really wants to be good at football is similar. in that way, but it's a lot closer to home here. Reminds me a lot of Valdosta, Georgia, when I coached there, which I loved coaching there. And then more similar than different, I guess. There's a lot of history. I mean, my wish list on some of the historical sites that I would like to see. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, it's like, well, I mean, if I start out just a 50-mile radius of here, it'd take a while to cover it all. But, you know, just an incredible amount of history. And then the other thing, and it's still kind of subtle to me, but it's almost like there's different regions of Mississippi where there's different nuances and things in a relatively close place, you know, a relatively close proximity. Different regions have, I don't know, I'm having a tough time putting my finger on it, but just little nuances and things like that are captivating and interesting. And then the other thing, and I think a lot of it has to do with the work ethic, because I've read some things on, you know, like some of the people that have gone on to great achievement from the state of Mississippi. I mean, a lot of writers. I mean, a ton of writers, a ton of artists, athletes. I mean, the athletes, I mean, we could be here all day talking about the athletes, and not just in football, and people that have gone on to achieve great things. And I think that, and I grew up in Wyoming, and I think that if you come from a smaller town, I think that, you know, you think about what's out there, and I think the imagination is a very powerful thing. And I think that, you know, so then you read about it, you talk to people about it, you look up stuff about it, because you haven't been there, but you'd really like to go see, experience. And I knew it was like that in Wyoming, and I felt like, because I'm trying to figure out how there can be the level of achievement with, you know, so many distinguished individuals that, you know, Mississippi has to offer. And I really think that's part of it. I think there's a certain amount of curiosity, see the world, study it, read about it, even if it's on your phone. You know, I'd like to do that. What would that be like? And I think that, you know, then there's an eagerness to see and experience things that I think that that really allows things to take off if somebody takes a true interest in it.
Robin Dambrino has a question.
Unmute. All right. Hey, Coach Robin Dambrino, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good.
Good. Listen, from a fellow lawyer, I'd like to ask you this. I know you've got an analytical mind because you've got that law degree and you've invented offenses and everything. I wondered if you'd come up with any way to possibly make Mississippi State's visitors' locker room worse than you described it to be.
Well, I have some sad news for you.
What?
Now, I don't know when this happened. And it was a dark day whenever it did. They have redone that visitors' locker room, and it's very nice and pleasant now. And I think it's when they moved, when they remodeled the stadium. So it's no longer that place that I enjoyed. You know, and it was funny because as I told that story, I didn't think about it, but it makes sense. So I'd tell that story, and former Mississippi State players and even coaches would come up to me and say, I never knew what that locker room was like. We never went in there. We never saw it. And I really think that, and Jackie Sherrill, who's a brilliant, brilliant guy, I really think, and you know, but he's always thinking. I'll bet you he was behind that. I haven't nailed down the you know, it's a little bit like Banksy. I like Banksy, you know, the street artist that paints the stuff on the side of the building. So I think, I'm not sure that under cover of darkness, Jackie didn't put that thing together, but, and it was brilliant. And I say that with sincerity. And then, but the former players and coaches would say, I never saw it. I never knew it was there. And then, you know, and then as I got to thinking about it, I never saw the visitors' locker room when I was at Kentucky. I never saw well, actually, I did see the visitors' locker room at Washington State because it used to be our locker room. That's how bad our locker room was. Now, it was better than the one at Mississippi State back in the day, but it wasn't good. And then at Texas Tech, I rarely went in the visitors' locker room. So it does make sense, and I don't think our players ever did. So, yeah, they didn't get to really fully appreciate the artistry that existed there, but it was something. You went in there and you just well, it was stark, but you say but you appreciated that they were thinking about you, you know. And yeah, I still remember 38 nails, a concrete box. Oh, okay, so those that haven't heard the story, when I was at Kentucky, when we played at Mississippi State, and this was brilliant, very small locker room. I don't know how to describe how small, but very small, very small locker room. So whatever would do 38 concrete nails in the wall, about 3 feet apart. You can almost do the math. On all four sides, okay? And now keep in mind, you travel with 70. You don't travel with 38, you travel with 70. And so we'd hang one guy's stuff on the nail, set the other guys on the floor. Now there's no benches, no benches. Listen, literally all there was, concrete box, 38 nails, toilet, 2 toilets in the middle, no lids because they didn't want us getting mad and bashing those up. No toilet seats, 1 roll of toilet paper sitting right in between. So, you know, when you're done, you just hand it to your buddy, right? And then, in a minimalistic way, it was aesthetically appealing to the eye. And then, so what you do, now we brought in our own benches because our equipment guys said, okay, yeah, Mississippi State's like this. So we brought in our own benches, but nevertheless, so we put one guy's stuff on the nail, set the other guys on the floor. Next guy's on the nail, next one on the floor. And we did bring extra toilet paper. I don't know if that's cheating, but we did. And then that circular 70s Quentin Tarantino looking entryway on the field. You're saying, all right, that's clever, looks a little Disneyland. Well, let me just tell you, if you don't hold on to that rail, it was Disneyland in a hurry, because you'd go spinning down that spiral and you wouldn't stop till you hit the bottom. And that's why those football players, and after we played there, I started watching on TV, and those guys tiptoed because the concrete was like glare ice. There was no grit to the concrete. It was like glare ice, the smoothest concrete on earth. And they're holding on to that banister. I'm a little surprised that banister was there, to be honest with you. But that banister is, you know, 6-inch steps working your way down, and then same thing working your way up. No, it was masterful. When I coached at Iowa Wesleyan College, the University of Iowa, we didn't play University of Iowa, but, you know, we had assistants that had played there and stuff like that. That's when they were doing the pink locker room. University of Iowa painted the entire visitors' locker room. Like anything in that locker room was pink, like bright pink. And then you'd read about, some teams would ignore it. Some teams would dress in there, go outside. Some teams would go so far as to cover all the walls with tarps and stuff like that. But No, it was utterly outstanding. And it was one of those things, and this is kind of going out of style, but it used to be, you play on the road and, you'd see something you'd never seen before, a unique locker room, where they're kind of hazing you since you're at their place. And now more and more of these locker rooms are getting kind of not quite NFL-ish, but where, it's not as good as the home locker room, but it's better than some home locker rooms used to be,
Hey, Coach, we had a question from Greg asking how the lack of spring practice was impacting you being a new coach at Mississippi State and would impact the college football season.
I'm trying to gauge that myself right now. I don't know for sure. We have these Zoom meetings kind of like this, and you hope everybody's paying attention, and you hope when they're sitting there looking at something you have on the screen, some play, that they can sort it out with all the distortion and stuff of a little computer screen. You hope that some of it's soaking in, and you do the best you can. And then now we're allowed to do walkthroughs, so I'm starting to get a little better idea. Can't have a ball, so we roll up a towel and we tape it. We say, all right, pretend this is the ball. And then and we seem to have a decent knowledge, but there's a difference between knowing on paper and your body automatically reacting quickly. I'm kind of curious about it. I don't know for sure. Hopefully we can mitigate it as much as possible, hopefully through the time. And now that we can do it, and you can't go face to face with 100% of the team, but you can a little more. I hope as little as possible, but I don't know. It's definitely damaging, because when you get really good, you've got a core of guys that say have played a year or two, and they know the stuff like the back of their hand. And then the new guys in the back of the line are asking the guys in the front of the line. The guys in the front of the line are telling them what to do and giving them something, a really good example to duplicate. And, then the learning goes faster, but now everybody's kind of learning it from scratch. But I don't know. We'll see how it goes. And we may have to simplify some things or limit the package a little, but, but we do seem eager to learn, that type of thing. And I've really appreciated the attitude of our players.
Another question from the chat from Julie Carrero, who's with Northwest Mississippi Community College. How do you feel about community college, junior college players?
Well, mainly good. Here's what I like best. What I like best about it is that it gives folks that have had a tough go of things, or maybe didn't get it done the first time, another shot, and to get into college and to have a great opportunity, and so I think that's good, and then the other thing is so because that helps build society, it helps develop resources and potential. So I think that's outstanding. And then we always try to get several from the junior colleges every year, because it's a great resource as far as talent. I do think that the core of your team needs to be built with high school kids. So like I try to have the majority high school kids that come up in your system and the way you do it. But we've always taken several junior college guys every year. In Mississippi, when I was at Washington State, they're all from California JC, where there's I think there's 82 of them. There's an awful lot, and we take them from California JC. But Mississippi, right here in this state, I mean, just an incredible number of JCs, great players. And then I'll tell you the other thing that'll happen with the JC players. Some guys had some tough breaks, and what you're really looking for is the guy that loves football, that is determined to make an impact if they are overlooked, determined to turn things around if there was some kind of academic stuff, or even in some cases law enforcement stuff. I mean, I think it's a tremendous resource, and I think that this state is blessed to have the JCs in the fashion that they do, and it's been discouraging to see some of the JC programs around the country back away from football, I think. And I think all sports really. I mean, it's almost like, the Greeks, always wanted a balance between the mind and the body, and a lot of times, I played rugby in college, and, rugby doesn't make money, it costs money, and, but, I mean, everybody says, well, does this sport make money? This sport doesn't. Well, it's important to make money, yes. But, I mean, are we a better society if people are exposed to other things, other challenges, and they act like, well, this sport doesn't make money, so we shouldn't have it. Well, I majored in English. I doubt the English department made any money, when I majored in English. But or I majored in American Studies, minored in English. But, that's not the whole point. I mean, the whole point isn't that it make money. I mean, do we build our society and make mentally stronger people with a more fuller dimension? And I think that's what's most important. And I think that, and I realize there's a tipping point, but the more opportunities that JCs and universities can provide, the better everybody's going to be.
All right, let's have one more question.
We have one more from the chat from Raymond Jordan with Mississippi Radio Group. Who do we need to look to make the biggest impact this fall?
I wish I could tell you. If I'd had spring football, I may have some thoughts. As a matter of fact, I'm waiting to see. I'll tell you, with regard to young guys, it's always the one that adjusts the quickest. I mean, so people come in this big, this fast, this strong, and then but some guys, just the fact that they're now in college, there's an adjustment. Now they'll go on to have a great career, but maybe they don't have an immediate impact. And, some of them, it may even take 2 years before they get it all reined in. And then I've been good at predicting who's going to be a good player. I've been horrible at predicting who's going to have an immediate impact. Some it takes a while, but I'll tell you this: if a guy comes in and has just does what got him there in high school or junior college, and keeps doing that over and over and over, and gets a little better each day and improves at one thing each day, those are the guys that have the most success, where it doesn't get all muddled up and they're trying to do too much, or where they're too shy to go out there and do what they can do. And then as far as immediate impact here, some guys have already had an impact here. My suspicion, it'll be some of the more experienced guys that will learn and adjust quickly, that have had some playing experience, and then just really embrace what we ask them to do and make the most of it. That's what I think.
All right, great. Well, thank you, Coach. Before we let Coach go, I'd like to do a quick roundtable and just have all the Rotary clubs who are guests identify their home clubs, so we have an indicator of how many different clubs we have here today. Obviously, we have Tupelo and Grenada. Who else is on the call from what club?
Aberdeen.
All right, thank you, Aberdeen.
Clarksdale.
Collierville, Tennessee.
All right.
Autotop.
Okay.
Clarksdale.
Okay.
Senatobia.
Beautiful. Who else?
Drew Ruvel.
Ruvel. Great.
Oxford.
All right. An Oxonian. Good. Who else? All right. Well, that's good. That's a great representation. We really appreciate it. Coach, we really appreciate you coming. I was so
Muted your phone, David.
You cut off somehow. I can't hear you.
well, I was muted, so that's how excited I was, Coach. I muted myself and forgot to unmute. So we appreciate all the clubs joining us, Coach. Thank you so much. I forgot. I was saying I was so excited to have you today. I forgot to do your bio, and I apologize for that. But we're excited. You're the 34th coach at Mississippi State. I'm glad we mentioned your law degree from Pepperdine. You are one of my favorite coaches from across the country, and I'm excited to have you in Mississippi. And I know the Mississippi State fans are equally excited. We look forward to great things. Thank you again for being our guest speaker today. I do want to get you back in person once we get back to our old normal, which I consider just normal too. Thank you, Dave, very much, Dave Emmerich, for helping set this up. We really appreciate the opportunity to have you as our guest speaker. So thank you, sir. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me on, and I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to so many people and hail State and convert the other guys. Got to have a few of the other guys, but let's get them converted, and then kind of our process as far as what I've done over the years. I wrote a book called Swing Your Sword, which is on Amazon if anybody's really interested, and you can check that out if and it's we're kind of the same process we've done over the years. Kind of gives you sort of a inside look, I guess, on how we look at things and my path to coaching. So I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And as I said in the opening, even my son and his friends, high school football players, want to hear you speak. So best of luck. I know you'll do great things. And thank you to all the Rotarians who joined. And with that, we will adjourn with the motto, service above self, profit most who serves best. Thanks, everybody. Have a great week.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Bye-bye.